So I am pleased to welcome now to our screens David Kusuma, who is currently the president-elect of WDO and has worked with the organization for many years. David is the senior vice president of product management and innovation at Oregon Tool and the former vice president of global R&D at Tupperware Brands Corporation, where he was responsible for leading research and product innovation. So David will be moderating our next session, which will explore diversity of thought as a catalyst for innovation in design. So a warm welcome to you, David. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I must say that I found the last session that was driven by Chris and Jism to be really inspiring, really interesting tool. So I want to begin by saying a very warm World Industrial Design Day to everyone here on the show. I think, this kind of a continuous dialogue in terms of design and also in terms of diversity has been a really great topic. So today in our session, we have a really fantastic speaker and panelist, and that is Theresa Chiueh. So hello, Theresa. Great to see you on online, virtually. And let me introduce you. So Theresa, you have that H in your name. It throws me off a little bit, but I know it's still pronounced Theresa, correct?
That's correct.
So Theresa Chiueh is PepsiCo's Director of Global Design Innovation and based in New York City. And together with her innovation partners, she is driven to create breakthrough food and beverage solutions that drive better health for people and sustainability for society and the planet. So two extremely important topics. She holds degrees in mechanical engineering as well as business from MIT. Her 20-year design career includes working for companies like Ford, Design Continuum, Brown, Sprint, Zipcar, and Sterling brands. That's a huge range of experience, Theresa. Thank you so much for joining us today on the World Industrial Design Day and to give us some of your thoughts in terms of diversity and also your career and background.
Great, thanks, David. So
yeah,
nice
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, really great to have you here.
No, thank you very much. I'll just start sharing my screen. First, I'm going to need to, let's share my screen, and then I'll start the presentation. So can you see my screen? I just wanted to verify.
It looks perfect.
Okay, great. So hi, everyone. I'm Theresa. As David mentioned, I'm currently working at PepsiCo as a Director of Global Design Innovation. I've been working for PepsiCo for the last 5 years, and I want to spend the time just talking about how PepsiCo is addressing diversity and representation within our US design centers from a corporate perspective. And then I also want to share kind of my own personal experience in my 20-year design career, thinking about how diversity of thought is something that as design practitioners, we can action on immediately. While we're still on this journey of increasing racial representation, especially within the US, I think this is something at least that we can action on today in our practice. So I just wanted to give a quick introduction to design at PepsiCo. So in 2021, we have over 200 talented design practitioners across the world. And I'm really blown away by the talent that we have at PepsiCo. It's one of the major reasons why I've loved working for PepsiCo over the past 5 years. And while I'm currently working in our New York City Design Center for our global team, our reach is international. So as you can see here in the map, we have studios across the world in Mexico City, in London and Cairo, Moscow, and Shanghai. The reach of our brands and our work is incredible. And I've been fortunate enough to work with teams in Chicago, Texas, and Mexico, and London. And I hope to collaborate more with other offices in the future. So okay. It's clear. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if I could ask a couple of questions, but it looks like you're not quite finished, right?
Yeah, no, but you can go ahead. Yeah, feel free.
I mean, it looks like the footprint of Pepsi. I mean, we all know that Pepsi's a huge company. You know, the footprint is huge. You know, and I've been on your website. I've been able to see, you know, how you try to influence, you know, a fairly large breadth of society, and you have a huge portfolio of brands. 23 of them, I read, are larger than $1 billion or more. So, you know, I'd be interested. Can you talk about your company's mission of creating more smiles with every sip and every bite?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I think our brands are definitely lifestyle brands, and our products are things that people enjoy around the world, both in terms of our snacks and our beverages. But just beyond, you know, generating more smiles with every sip and bite of our great products from our brands, I think we're also driving towards something that we call winning with purpose, where not only do we want to, you know, be the leader in convenient packaged goods and foods and beverages, is that what we're trying to do is do it in a sustainable way. So it's a clear mission, especially for our CEO, Ramon LaGuarta, to focus on how we can create more sustainable food and beverage systems, things that are good for people and also good for the planet. And so we've been, we have a bunch, litany of different projects driving towards more sustainable agriculture, helping farmers to build successful businesses, especially in impoverished regions. We're also looking at things of how we can increase nutrition across our portfolio and improve the nutrition of snacks. Like our foods and snacks will always be something that people enjoy for fun, but it's our responsibility to make it better in terms of reduction of sodium, fat, and sugar. And the other thing that we're doing is also thinking about sustainability. So we have lots of initiatives looking at the impact of our packaging and figuring out new systems of how we can either eliminate packaging or transform our packaging to things that are either compostable or fully recyclable, or even package less. And so those are kind of the things that we're exploring as a company in order to deliver value, not just from a business perspective, but also from a sustainability perspective.
Yeah, thanks for that, Theresa. Your map here shows all of the different design centers that you have. You know, so it would be interesting to know how you manage your project work through the different design centers. Perhaps that was something you were going to be addressing anyway.
Yeah, in terms of how we're structured, each region is pretty much has its own P&L. So each design center is working hand in hand with the business leads for that region. And so they do have a lot of collaboration with the business leads to deliver results based off of the initiatives for that year, for that region. From a global level, this is where I'm a part of. What we're looking at is more systemic leading edge projects in order to help engender change beyond what might be incrementally accomplished within the regions. So thinking really big picture about sustainability, thinking big picture about breakthrough innovation is kind of our remit. And then in terms of how the design centers collaborate with each other, we annually have a global design summit where we get the teams together to share. But on a monthly basis, our design leadership team meets to share, current projects, current initiatives. And we often have talks that we hold where everyone's invited to learn about the latest progress on current projects.
That's probably a task that has been a little bit more difficult, through this whole experience of COVID.
Yes, absolutely. It's been challenging, but I think it's also highlighted that working remote is possible. I think we're all looking forward to being back in the design center so we can collaborate together, especially I think in the field of industrial design and product design. There's nothing like looking at a prototype with your fellow design colleagues and like working things out in real time. I think nothing will ever really replace that, even VR, but I think we've shown that we can make it work, we can be adaptable, but I think a lot of us are looking forward to just having lunch and coffee with our friends at work and collaborating in person.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Theresa. I also cannot wait until the rest of the people that I'm working with are also back at work.
Yes.
You tend to miss that interaction.
Yes.
Do you have more slides that you'd like
yes.
to go through? Okay,
yes.
so let me let you finish. I have a number of other questions, which I'll come back with after your presentation.
Okay, sounds great. So as you can see, the PepsiCo design community has clear international diversity, with our studios all around the world. Tina, our PepsiCo global chief diversity officer, captures our position on diversity well in this quote. Diversity is fundamental to how we innovate. It's not just a responsibility, it's an asset. So I'll be talking a little bit about how we are addressing racial representation within our design function, within US locations through our corporate initiatives. And then the last half of this little chat, I'll be sharing how diversity of thought has been central to my career in design. And then we'll wrap up with a few questions from David at the end of this chat. So for those of you living in the US, I think this fact is not unsurprising. I think for those of you internationally, the US design industry has a clear problem. Only 3% are Black and 8% are Latino across all design disciplines. While here in the US, Black people are 13% and Latinos are 18% of the US population. So representation of these groups in the US design industry is down by 10%. It's a big gap. So, one question we were asking ourselves is, design has a gaping hole. Why is that? And some of the things that we've learned is one of the major reasons is that people of color lack early access to information and tools to pursue creative fields. So, we've heard things like, I'm told to pursue jobs with more immediate employment. No one looks like me in a creative profession. My parents aren't very supportive when it comes to creative education, and my high school lacks creative professionals. And so, I had the same experience growing up. I was always told that, arts and design was a vocation, not something that was a profession that you could pursue. I didn't know anyone who was a designer. My parents weren't designers. None of my friends' parents were designers. None of my my high school didn't have a clear appreciation for art or even the idea of exposing people to the idea of design. And I stumbled upon the field of industrial design just taking a study break in an architecture library of my college. So that's the only reason I got exposed to ID was ID magazine way back in the 90s. So how many people do you know get a chance to learn about industrial design? I'm sure all of us have a similar story, is that, unless you knew somebody who had an industrial design degree and was an industrial designer, it's not something that people know a lot about. And we need to change this dynamic even more so for underrepresented groups in the US. So as a result, these are some of the commitments that we are taking at PepsiCo Design. The first one is we know that we have a gap in terms of representation across our designers within the US location. So the first thing we're doing is educating ourselves. And We've established a diversity task force within our design center. And Mauro, our chief design officer, hosted a wonderful talk with Dwayne Edwards, who has pursued a career in footwear design, has now started his own company, creating opportunities for people of color within design. And I highly recommend that you go to our website and check out this video and learn about Dwayne's design journey in his career. The next thing we know is that we know young kids aren't getting a chance to even consider design as a career. And so how can we inspire the next generation of new designers? So we're creating interactions and with local schools to expose kids to the fact that design can be a career. Also running back to school drives to get art supplies to kids and get them in their hands so they can nurture the creative side. The other thing that we're doing is that we know that current design schools lack representation as well. So the other thing we're doing is we're recruiting differently and reaching out to new sources of talent, just like in this example of this website called Blacks Who Design. The other thing we know is, I think all of us are well aware, formal design education and the tools required to pursue design are quite expensive. So PepsiCo has made a commitment in terms of providing committed money and scholarships to enable students of color to pursue 2- and 4-year degrees within the US. The other thing is, not just looking externally, but internally, we need to develop our talent. And so we've got great employee resource groups like Mosaic and Adelante, creating safe spaces for people of color to network within the company, do leadership training and things like that. And I've seen the value of these employee resource groups firsthand. I think in this very tumultuous year, myself being Asian American, I really appreciated the resource group that we have for Asian Americans at PepsiCo in order to create a safe space where we could share, some of our concerns, our worries, and also our dreams as well. And the last thing that we're doing is also being very honest and transparent about our progress. So here you can go to our website. Every year we're publishing a racial equality journey document, kind of documenting the tangible actions that we're taking, and also sharing the statistics of our workforce across different levels of our company to share how we're doing in terms of our progress of gender representation and also racial representation within our business. And while, PepsiCo, while we've been on our journey towards a more equitable representation, one thing, I think all of us are wondering is like, yes, it's going to take some time to get that pipeline filled, to get, good talent through the door so we can have good racial representation in the design industry. So what can we do today? And one thing that we can do today is enabling diversity of thought. And a big caveat here is this is not meant to be the end-all be-all solution. This is only a first step on how design can be truly inclusive. And reflecting on my design career, diversity of thought has really driven a lot of the work that I do. And I want to share some of the lessons that I've learned through my career and translate that into how you can action that today in your work. So the first lesson that I've learned is understand yourself. So, as you know, David shared my background. I started off my career as an engineer at Ford Motor Company, and I was seamlessly working on product design and manufacturing engineering teams. We were all engineers, translating what the design center had created and bringing that into reality. But I realized, I really want to work in industrial design and in a creative environment. So after going to grad school, I pivoted into product design and innovation consulting through a job at Design Continuum. Many of you might know this firm, headquartered in Boston, started in, I believe, 1983. Working for their design strategy and innovation team. And the team was primarily at that time made up of designers and anthropologists. And I was one of the first new hires with more of a technical background. And naively, I thought I would just seamlessly plug into the process because, I'm a good problem solver, I'm a creative thinker. But I really was surprisingly struggling working with the team. And what I needed to do was really figure out how to work with a team. It wasn't just about ideas. It was about working styles, relationships building, and also communications. I think based off of my engineering background and practice, I had biases based on the engineering culture on how to work with others. Like in engineering is all about the ideas, and the best one wins. And it's about ownership of the idea because you created the idea, versus really building ideas with others, driving to solutions through open-ended conversations, understanding the clear needs of the user, not just an idea that you thought was great, but really empathizing with the users and figuring out what they wanted. And what I realized in that moment was my worldview and the training that I received was stopping my contribution to the team. And through understanding how I thought and how I processed things was different from the team, and learning what the team needed in order for me to really engage and work with them and collaborate with them, I had to understand myself and understand how my worldview was creating issues for the team. And because of that understanding of myself and being able to reframe and reset and almost unlearn how it was working before, it ended up helping me out because despite that rocky start, I ended up co-leading a studio for design continuum in Los Angeles for 5 years, seamlessly working with all the strategists and designers within the company. So that was one big thing, is like, first, before you can start to work with others and collaborate with others, you need to understand yourself and your biases in terms of how you view the world, how you work, and how you think. The next thing was, based off that experience, that rocky start that I had to my design career, it really sparked a passion in me to make sure that we help teams to embrace differences so we can truly leverage diverse thinking across the team to build better ideas. And so one thing that has been really helpful has been providing people a language to communicate and acknowledge differences in order to engender better collaboration. So whether it's personal biases, your upbringing, your race or culture, your social styles, love languages, enneagrams, or other ways that people are different, the intent is to help people to see who they are and how they're different from others. And it's not just enough to acknowledge the differences, but the thing is to embrace them. So really, don't immediately listen to others, really understand what their point of view is, see how you can combine it with your point of view. And within PepsiCo, what we've done is we've completed internal training workshops, helping our team to understand how they work, how they think, how they communicate, and also how they like to be appreciated. And it's helped us to embrace our collective differences and also communicate and work better together. In a corporate setting, I think these kind of tools are also helpful because we need to be able to communicate the value of design, the value of our work to the business leaders and thinkers in order to, get results within a corporate system. So, embracing differences in other people's POVs is critical to success, especially in the corporate environment. And the last lesson that I've learned that has helped me as an innovator is to find people to help you fill your gaps. So I think it's not just enough for people to acknowledge their differences within a team, but also for the team to acknowledge their own collective biases. So, thinking about, are you too product focused? Are you too brand focused? Are you too technology focused? Are you actually too people focused, where you need to be thinking about the business and back end of how things are created? Are you too American? Are you too urban? Are you too affluent? I think all these things are things that teams need to acknowledge as they're going through their design projects. And based off of that, I think the thing is to recruit people and experts to fill gaps of your team and get them to provide feedback and advice. So, you know, we often talk about user-centered design. I think it's about actually challenging the team, not just to look at users, but to look at different points of view when it comes to a specific experience or a specific product. And I think, you know, I'm often reminding our internal teams that we have great corporate jobs. You know, we're fairly affluent. I think overall we're well compensated, and that, you know, sometimes we can't relate to some of our consumers who might not be as economically advantaged or who might be living in more rural areas. And we need to make sure that we're not doing performative user research. You know, I've seen this happen before where as a consultant, I was working with clients and the clients wanted us to kind of justify their hypotheses and their opinions, and where, you know, how do we get us to stop thinking about our hypotheses and testing our hypotheses, but really truly empathizing and understanding where people are coming from. And this is a challenge that I try to remind myself on a daily basis. And it's been a big thing for me to make sure that we have inclusive participation and new voices heard in our design process. So overall, I think, you know, the key to driving diversity of thinking is that you have to be open to learning about yourself and others. This enables personal growth and helps you to evolve as a, you know, design and innovation practitioner. I think opening the aperture to how you see the world and how you see others enables you to conceptualize and create better experiences and products for the world. I think diversity of thought has led me to not only be a better design and innovation strategist, but also be a better person myself. I think it's something that I'm still learning and growing. I think all of us will always have biases, you know, throughout our life, but it's kind of my lifelong journey to make sure that voices that are unheard or recognized get heard through the design process. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for taking the time to listen to me. And I hope you have gotten a different perspective on how PepsiCo Design is working towards equitable racial representation within the design field, and also some nuggets of inspiration for your everyday design practice.
So thank you very much, Theresa. Some really, really great insights. You know, thank you for sharing it from your own personal experiences, from your life lessons. By the way, you had mentioned design continuum, you know, and everyone who has been part of WDO knows Gianfranco Zeccai extremely well. You know, he's been a longtime friend of WDO, actually a former board member of the World Design Organization as well. Mm-hmm. You know, so great to have you here. One of my questions was actually, how does diversity of thought, how has that helped you in terms of design and innovation and becoming a strategist? I think you've mostly answered that, you know, as
yes.
you were closing. So that's good. I think we're almost out of time, actually. Let me take a look. We are, so I might not be able to ask you any other questions, but I think, you know, your presentation was really, really great. Thank you so much for participating and for giving us, you know, the insights and the benefits of your life experience.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Theresa, for joining us today and for sharing your story with us. And thank you again, David, for facilitating today.
Thank you.